My husband wanted me gone. The first time I realized my husband wanted me gone, he was standing at the bottom of the stairs, watching me struggle to breathe. I had slipped on the third step and fallen hard against the railing. Pain shot through my back, and for several terrifying seconds, I could not catch my breath. My husband, Daniel, did not rush toward me. He did not ask whether I was hurt. He simply stared. There was something cold in his eyes, something calculated. Then, as if remembering how a concerned husband was supposed to behave, he hurried forward. "Claire, what happened?" he asked, kneeling beside me. "I slipped," I whispered. Daniel looked up at the staircase. "You really need to be more careful." His words sounded harmless, but his expression made my skin crawl. We had been married for 11 years. For most of that time, I believed we were happy. Daniel was charming, ambitious, and attentive. He remembered anniversaries, brought me flowers, and told everyone that marrying me had been the best decision of his life. But everything changed after my father died. My father had built a successful construction company from nothing. When he passed away, he left me his house, his savings, and a controlling share in the business. Daniel had always lived comfortably, but suddenly, I was worth far more than either of us had imagined. At first, he acted proud of me. Then he started asking questions. How much money was in my accounts? Who would inherit everything if something happened to me? Why had my father's attorney suggested keeping some assets separate? I laughed off his curiosity. He was my husband. I trusted him. But after the fall, I began noticing things I had ignored before. Daniel insisted on preparing my morning coffee, even though he had never done it in the past. Whenever I drank it, I felt dizzy and exhausted. He encouraged me to stop visiting the office, claiming the stress was affecting my health. "You don't need to work anymore," he told me. "Let the managers handle everything." When I refused, he became irritated. A week later, my car brakes failed. I was driving toward the city when I pressed the brake pedal and felt it sink uselessly to the floor. Panic exploded through me. I pulled the emergency brake and swerved onto the shoulder, narrowly missing a delivery truck. The mechanic later told me that the brake line had been cut. "Cut?" I repeated. He nodded. "Cleanly. This wasn't normal damage." I called Daniel immediately. He arrived 20 minutes later, pale and furious, but not frightened. "Maybe someone at the company is targeting you," he said. "Why would anyone do that? Your father made enemies." His answer came too quickly. That evening, Daniel poured me a glass of wine and suggested we take a vacation. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere far away. I pretended to agree. But that night, while Daniel slept, I searched his office. I had never invaded his privacy before. My hands shook as I opened drawers and checked folders. At first, I found nothing unusual. Then I noticed a locked metal box behind a stack of financial records. The key was taped beneath his desk. Inside the box, I found copies of my insurance documents. Daniel had taken out a new life insurance policy on me 6 months earlier. The payout was $3 million. He was the sole beneficiary. Beneath the policy was a handwritten list. Accident at home. Car failure. Medication reaction. Fall during vacation. My heart stopped. The words were not random notes. They were plans. Daniel wanted me dead. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Every memory suddenly looked different: the staircase, the coffee, the failed brakes, his questions about my will. I wanted to confront him, but fear kept me silent. If Daniel believed I knew the truth, he might act immediately. So I photographed everything, returned the papers, and quietly contacted my father's attorney, Mr. Harris. He listened without interrupting. "You need to leave the house," he said. "I can't. He'll know I suspect him. Then we involve the police." But there was a problem. The documents were frightening, yet they did not prove that Daniel had cut the brakes or drugged my coffee. The police agreed to investigate quietly, but they needed stronger evidence. For the next several days, I lived beside the man who wanted me gone. I smiled across the breakfast table. I kissed him goodbye. I pretended to drink the coffee he made, then poured it into a sealed container when he left the room. A laboratory tested it. The results showed traces of a powerful sedative. Not enough to kill me immediately, but enough to cause dizziness, confusion, and accidents. The police installed recording equipment in my house. They also placed cameras in Daniel's office while he was away. I hated every moment. At night, Daniel held me while I lay awake, wondering how long he had been pretending to love me. 3 days later, he announced that he had planned a surprise trip. "There's a cabin near the mountains," he said. "Private, peaceful, beautiful views. It will be good for us." "To us," he said. "To us." He drank. Within 20 minutes, his speech became slow. His eyelids drooped. "What did you do?" he asked. I stared at him. I switched the glasses. His expression changed instantly. The loving husband disappeared. "You went through my office." It was not a question. "I know about the insurance policy," I said. "I know about the brakes. I know what you put in my coffee." Daniel tried to stand, but the sedative made him unsteady. "You don't understand," he muttered. "Then explain it." His face twisted with anger. "That money should have been ours." "It was ours." "No. It was always yours. Your company. Your accounts. Your house. You made me feel like a guest in my own life. I never treated you that way. You didn't have to. Everyone knew I was living off my wife. I could barely recognize him. So you decided to kill me?" "I tried to give you chances," he said. "You could have signed control of the company over to me. You could have changed the accounts. But you kept listening to that attorney." The cruelty in his voice destroyed the last piece of love I still carried for him. "You never loved me." Daniel laughed bitterly. "I loved you before you started acting like you were better than me." I heard movement outside the cabin. The officers were approaching. But Daniel heard it too. He lunged at me. Despite the sedative, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the back door. I fought, screamed, and struck him with my free hand. He dragged me outside onto the wooden deck. Beyond the railing was the steep ridge. "This was supposed to look like an accident," he hissed. The back door burst open. "Police! Let her go." Daniel froze. For 1 second, he looked at the officers. Then he looked at me. He tightened his grip. I kicked his knee, tore myself free, and fell backward onto the deck. The officers tackled him before he could reach me again. As they placed him in handcuffs, Daniel shouted that I had ruined his life. I stared at the man I had trusted for 11 years. "No, Daniel," I said. "You ruined it the moment you decided my life was worth less than my money." The recordings from the cabin captured his confession. The laboratory results proved he had drugged me. Investigators found security footage showing him near my car the night before the brake line was cut. They also discovered messages between Daniel and another woman named Vanessa. He had promised her that after I was gone, they would start a new life together. Daniel was convicted of attempted murder, insurance fraud, and several other charges. He received a long prison sentence. Vanessa claimed she knew nothing about his plans, but her messages told a different story. She had repeatedly asked when he would finally be free. She later accepted a deal and testified against him. The divorce was finalized while Daniel sat behind bars. For months, I blamed myself. How could I have slept beside someone capable of killing me? How had I mistaken control for concern and questions about my money for harmless curiosity? Therapy helped me understand that Daniel's deception was not my failure. Trusting someone you love is not foolish. Betraying that trust is the shameful act. I returned to my father's company and became more involved than ever. I created new safety policies, expanded the business, and established a foundation supporting survivors of domestic abuse and financial exploitation. 1 year after Daniel's arrest, I stood at the top of the staircase where I had fallen. For a moment, I remembered his cold expression as he watched me struggle. Then I looked around the house. The walls had been repainted. His office had become a bright reading room. Every photograph of him was gone. He had wanted me erased so he could take my life, my home, and my future. Instead, he lost everything. I walked down the stairs slowly, confidently, one step at a time. Daniel wanted me gone. But I was still here. And I was no longer afraid.